We're privileged, as always, to have the Ukrainian ambassador to the UK, Prystaiko Vadym, here in the studio with us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the programme this morning. What's the situation in Kyiv at the moment?
We have conversations at very high level that we will have to deal with at least 4.5 people without the heat and without electricity. Somebody's even talking about evacuating the whole capital of Ukraine.
How do you start to evacuate a whole city, as has been suggested by the mayor, if is necessary? Where do they go?
I hope it won't come to this, and we're still sort of trying to renew all the electric facilities, generating stations, the transformations, all of it. If it comes to it, we'll have to move them back to west of Ukraine, Lviv and all the places closer to the European Union.
Is it a possibility?
That's a huge number of people to be evacuated, but Ukrainian winters can be quite harsh. We have to think how we do it.
How do you stop Russia continuing to hit your energy supplies?
We fight back. We managed to take from the sky around 75% of all the drones and rockets. They're running off the rockets, that's for sure. Today, the Russian fleet did not leave the basis for the sea, where they launched their rockets at us. But the Iranian drones, this is the biggest problem. They're cheap, they're numbered, they're coming in a swarm, very difficult to deal with.
Iranians are involved with that, I believe.
Yes, that's their doing. Although they're telling that's not, and they're even sending the notes to all the embassies here in London that Ukrainians are lying. But we have so many of them already been taken, so we can check.
What the Iranians are saying is that they did provide drones, but it was before the war.
At the same time, we have evidence that thousands and thousands of them been provided, and some of them stored now in Belarus, which is on north of Ukraine, quite closer to Kyiv city, for example.
What can the West do to help try to protect your skies?
First of all, we have to do what we started with. Even we talked with you the beginning of the year, that we have to cover the skies for Ukraine. It means sometimes planes, in most of the cases rockets, anti-air. We can also think of some creative ideas, but we also have to increase pressure on Russia and Iran as well.
In what way?
We run political sanctions, more or less the same with Russia, just to keep them under pressure until they won't be able anymore to send any rockets to build new. What they're trying to do now, they're trying to start producing them, especially these cheap ones, the Iranian ones.
Zaporizhzhia, I believe, the power station is now back online. What difference will that make?
This particular station is responsible, the biggest in Europe, as nuclear biggest in Europe, so it's responsible for quite a large number. But in most of the cases, not generation the problem, because we already have almost 10 million people left houses that are not using the electricity. And the economy is not running on the full, as you can imagine. So we have at least twice as less in consumption. The problem was the transmission, with the wires, was just the equipment.
What would you say? I was chatting to Mary Robinson, former Irish president, now chair of the Elders when it comes to COP27. She's heading to Sharm el-Sheikh next week. As we know, our own Prime Minister and many other leaders are there at the moment. She was making the point that because of the situation in Ukraine, we are behind where we need to be when it comes to the climate crisis. What would you say in response?
It is also true, but we've seen pictures like Russian tanks are going over the solar stations just to break them to somebody else, some business stations. So nothing can be done if somebody is deliberately trying to destroy your nation or your economy. It's not like you move to the mills or, I don't know, solar stations. You have to have peace. That's what we're trying to achieve. In our case, the system was built that we have central heat generation, which is much cheaper, and from point of view of economy is much better. But then when you hit the central station, so many districts around it are lacking the heat and the power.
I was reading about the grain situation. We had thought that had been fixed and there had been an agreement so that Odessa, the ships could come in and out of getting the grain around the world. I believe that's not necessarily the case anymore.
Russians promise, or they threatened rather, that they will get out of the deal, but very likely to have Turkey on board. So Turks and UN told that we're still in the process. We will be doing it. So Russians had to change their minds and get back to the treaty again. So we are exporting, in short.
Talk to me about the situation for so many people in Ukraine. They must be war weary. by now? How are they coping?
They're wary, at the same time they're quite adamant. And your example of Great Britain at the Second World War is showing that you can't intimidate the government by going with terrorist attacks against the population. We are suffering, but people are quite strongly directing at supporting the president, supporting the armed forces to fight. It is not working for Russians.
What more can your president do to try to bring this war to a conclusion?
People starting to talk about negotiations, and we agree to negotiate. If only we can have Russians out of our lands, that's the starting point for negotiations. We'll have to negotiate many things, how we live with them for these generations and generations and generations. Now, when they're killing our people, we have to get them out and understand how they will be repairing everything they've done to us, what are the reparations, sanctions, and everything. This is lots and lots of things to negotiate.
Some suggestions that the US midterm elections, which are tomorrow, once those are over, we may see some movement as far as a resolution in Ukraine is concerned. Do you think that's a possibility?
If the United States will be able to provide us with more weapons, and the issue is that they are providing a lot, they're providing bulk, most of it. Second is UK, so all the nations can actually step up in doing so. If we are to provide Ukraine over the year or something, when the support, the political support, the people support can diminish, what we're asking right now to give this equipment now, so we can end up this war much sooner. And we are quite successful. Look at it, the Kherson is about to be freed. That's the only more or less considerable city the Russians managed to get.
Final thought from you this hour, if I may. When I interviewed our present Prime Minister, earlier on in the summer, he said that his first overseas trip would be to Ukraine. That obviously hasn't happened because he's gone to Sharm el-Sheikh. Are you still expecting him?
Absolutely. We're not going to discuss the dates because of the security of your Prime Minister, but he is coming to Ukraine quite soon.
He's coming quite soon?
Yes.
OK, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.